Welcome to Toonami faithful viewers. I'm editorial writer and senior staff writer CJ Maffris, along with a very special guest here at Anime Expo.
Hi, I'm Jason Marnocha, a voice actor type person.
He does a really good job with improv, as we heard at his recent panel of Chilling with Voice Actors. I will say, for those who obviously weren't around to see it, that was a lot of fun. I thought it was such a star-studded cast. Everyone did such a great job of making that hilarious.
One thing that I love about voiceover is that everyone comes in willing to play, and everyone is ready to, we all make each other laugh. That's part of what we do. We do the dialogue, and then we adjust something and make each other laugh and lose our minds. So,
which is a lot of fun. For the fans even, too. I'm sure they got a lot of laughs with a lot of the innuendos that were going on.
Those were flying left and right.
So, you've been recently on the block quite a bit, which has to be quite a awe-inspiring kind of thing for yourself, not only as an actor, but also to have a lot of people hear your work and stuff like that. What's it like getting to hear your voice on such a iconic block that's been around delivering anime to fans for so many generations?
It's really weird because I did watch Toonami when it was originally on back in the 90s, and so seeing me be in things and hearing my voice come out of characters that are on the Toonami block is actually really crazy, but really humbling too, because it's just kind of I generally don't like to jump on and listen to things that I've done, but also, you know, if I see it pop up, then I will maybe take a peek, and then I'm like, I'm on Toonami. Oh god.
Did you have like a squee kind of thing when you first heard your voice, whether it be on a promo or just a show in general?
Pretty much, yeah. The thing that I remember, I do remember JoJo being on there and my voice coming out of that very nice square coiffed hair. So that was bizarre. That was a bit. Oh.
I see what you did there.
I didn't even mean to.
I'll at least go with JoJo since you brought it up with it. I know your character wasn't around as much, but he was pretty important, and like his arc was somewhat special in a sense of like getting to see how he was kind of an antagonist in in the lamest terms of the word, but he actually had kind of his own like pathos and like was able to kind of really tug at the heartstrings when you found out he was doing it for his father.
Yeah,
or at least what he was trying to do with his father.
Yeah, it's true. It's interesting playing quote unquote bad guys who aren't evil as such. Like Keicho is not a super twisted bad guy or anything like that. He's trying to fix his father who's been turned into Play-Doh, and that's pretty literally. So there's something about having a character like that has like a really deep-seated, like there were some emotional scenes, and those were fun to play because I wasn't expecting it. No,
you're expecting just a ton of fights and things like that. Did you like the stand? I thought his stand was really cool.
Yes, Worst Company was a fun stand. I actually had seen some posters of that before I knew anything about the show, but I remembered I had seen the Little Army Man, and I got to voice them too, so that was fun. Like getting to
So now, were you a JoJo fan before, or was it like after you started to play your part, you're like, oh, now I really like the series, I got to catch up and see what else it's about?
It was, I knew vaguely of it beforehand, just because, this isn't the first season of it or anything, but I would say that after I began voicing it, then I started to, check it out and see that it really is a bizarre adventure, and I liked kind of seeing how weird it got, so I kept watching.
It's a huge favorite of Toonami fans, stuff like that, but I will say one show that really grabbed a hold of Toonami fans, I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, the pugilistic sport that I actually really enjoy, boxing, Megalobox. Myself, my colleague Sketch, and Darrell both predate me even to Toonami faithful. We all were behind the show when it was airing in Japan, things like that. We thought it was just perfect Toonami show. It was meant to be, things like that. Were you behind that kind of movement, thinking like, oh wow, this would be really cool on TV, or did you find out like after you were cast and after you were part of the project kind of thing?
I found out, I didn't know anything about Megalobox prior to getting the audition sides, and then I saw kind of the art style. I was like, ooh, it definitely looks like old school, like 80s, 90s anime, and so getting to see that, and then looking into it a little more and seeing some of because I did watch the whole thing eventually before I finished too much of the recording, because I wanted to understand the arc of everything, but I really came to love and appreciate how it looked, and was super excited to get started when I got cast.
A lot of the fans were behind it too. They were just like, yes, it was something different. Like, it wasn't the typical shonen that you get like in Hunter x Hunter or even JoJo in a sense, even though that could be a little bizarre more so than regular shonen. But it was something different. It really felt like adult animation that came from Japan that really fits the kind of demographic that I think that Toonami viewers would like. And I'm sure you felt the same way watching it all unfold. Obviously, you don't see it after you record your lines, but seeing it all together when it was airing.
Yeah, seeing the whole final product was amazing because I would love for this to be a real sport. You know, I would love for just put on rigs and box people and everything, and I think I would watch the absolute hell out of that show, or that sport. So, yeah, that was kind of one of my big thoughts when I went into this, but also that it did take itself pretty seriously and was pretty gritty. Like, I really, really liked that about it. And it's a used world. It's not like a pristine, shiny future. Everything's used, everything's kind of dirty. I liked that a lot.
How did you feel about your character? Because he certainly is, I wouldn't say polarizing, obviously. I think he was great, but, you know, he starts off fixing fights, one of the worst crimes you could commit as in the boxing world, and he turns out to be this real amazing legitimate trainer that turned Gearless Joe into overnight sensation.
Yeah, Nanbu is an interesting character because he's the way we looked at it was that he has always his whole life been trying to pull himself up from this one level of life that he's always lived at. You know, he was kind of born lower, but he's always been trying to reach higher and higher to try and, you know, and especially if he's got someone like Joe or like any other students that he's had, he's trying to get someone up over this thing, you know, in order to have a better life and be able to live with the people and have their, you know, because there's that whole societal separation that they've got going on. So Nanbu is always trying to do that, but he's not very good at doing things legit. So he's kind of, it was fun to realize that, you know, because there are some moments where he will be talking about, you know, like, hey, you can do it, Joe. It's all right. We're going to be fine. We just got to kind of play it down a little bit here and go a little under. You know, we don't want to ruffle too many feathers. So, like, he's got these ambitions that Joe shares. And so he's trying to almost fulfill what Joe wants, but he's not necessarily, he's bad at dodging the mob, certainly. So, you know, he's a multifaceted character that I had a lot of fun playing.
I was going to say, it sounds like you really enjoyed it. It seems like you and KG Tang also seem to enjoy the fact that you two kind of play off each other. I know in, like, recording anime, one person, one booth, that kind of thing, but I saw, like, a promo video that you and KG did that was real fun. It seems like you guys really kind of take onus of the characters that you got to portray in the show.
Yeah, KG is wonderful. He is not only a hilarious guy and a brilliant actor, but he's also really good for playing off of with moments like that, which was pretty much just, you know, get the gloves on, here's the scenario, and then we sort of had to go into it on our own. So we just sort of played off each other and did some little improv bits and whatever, and it was just so much fun. He's great. I love that man.
I have to ask, are you a fan of boxing either before or even after watching this series?
No, but if it was Megalo boxing, then I would absolutely be a fan. But I'm not much into boxing. I'm not much of a sports guy, unfortunately.
No, I happen to like it. Just I like hearing about the old days when it was like the thing, and even now I really enjoy like Canelo Alvarez, Deontay Wilder, who's the current like heavyweight champion. At least one of them. This dude gets like 97% of his fights ended in him knocking someone out. He's undefeated. It's really fun. Like, so I enjoy the sport, the art of it too, and I thought Megalobox really did a good job portraying the art of boxing without it being like too carnal and like, you know, like that kind of thing that people kind of squeamish about.
That's true, yeah, because there is blood, but mostly all you'll really see is bruising and blood, and occasionally someone's mouth guard will fly out. So it's not too, like, you know, insane, like someone's doing a triple spin downward punch, nothing like that. So yeah, I think that it definitely kept that. That's what I really liked about it, is that realism that it did maintain. I thought was really strong, and it really, really stuck with that well.
Not to just keep it to Toonami, even though I'm sure everyone could talk about Toonami till the sun comes down, things like that. You were in some other projects that, one, I didn't know that I find super fascinating, and that's with Transformers. I'm curious how you ended up auditioning for the role and how all of a sudden you've now become a part of such a franchise that's worldwide known.
Well, I had been, this was a few years ago at this point, it's the Transformers Prime Wars trilogy, which is Combiner Wars, Titans Return, and Power of the Primes. And I came to get the audition because I was working with Bat and the Sun at the time, doing, and still am, but we were doing the Superpower Beatdown show, and I was doing some voiceover for them. And at some point, the production company reached out to a whole bunch of folks, including Aaron Shunka over at Bat in the Sun and was like, hey, if you have any voice people, would you like them to audition for this thing? And so I auditioned for Starscream, Optimus Prime, Megatron, the whole thing, and ended up scoring Megatron presumably because I can maintain this for a while. So
I do like that a lot. Too.
It's fun.
It's really good.
It's fun. Thank you. So I ended up getting that and recording with all kinds of amazing folks: Abby Trott, Frank Todaro, John Bailey, Mark Hamill, Ron Perlman. A whole bunch of incredibly talented, brilliant people that are inspirational to me. So like it was a crazy show. It was awesome.
I just like it because again, I told you earlier I grew up from Beast Wars, so like being able to kind of like see new iterations of the same characters that I grew up and loved, I think is really cool. And you getting to play the badass of all badasses of the franchise, I think has to feel somewhat rewarding for sure.
It really does, because it's and it's another one of those things where it's like, you know, with a character who is the bad guy, like you got to find more layers to him. And with Megatron, it was definitely interesting to be able to figure out, like, you know, okay, so he comes from this and he's currently doing this and he's plotting this and he feels this way, like without being hugely specific, but just, you know, like that even these robot villain characters, like that there's so much more to them, I think is always fascinating to get through.
Yeah. Now, to kind of not necessarily wrap it up, but get close, what was one of your favorite shows back in the day when you watched Toonami? Just so fans can kind of hear and you can like geek out about.
Oh, man. I'm trying to think. Tenchi Muyo was one that I definitely remember. I remember Tenchi Muyo, Dragon Ball, which I believe was that over on the Toonami block straight up? Okay.
Dragon Ball.
I was never sure if I was in Dragon Ball Z, GT. Oh, that happened. Yeah, I remember that as well. Okay, because I was pretty sure there's 3 iterations from back in my day, but I don't remember. Yeah, okay. GT was the third one. I could not remember.
Right.
Tenchi Muyo, Yu Yu Hakusho. So yeah, it was one of those things where it would come on. Oh, sorry. It would come on later at night, and so I would have to kind of sneak downstairs to watch it because I was always just fascinated by, like, why is this art so different and so interesting, and why did none of the rules of physics seem to apply to anything, and this is awesome. And so I've kind of felt that way to that. Like, I generally don't watch something that I end up being in just by chance, and I try and keep it that way unless I have to watch it for like the character, because I think that it's fun to just sort of go in and be like, oh, I'm playing a talking shoe today. Awesome.
I would watch that.
I would watch that too, honestly.
And kind of to finish up, is there something you want to promote? Obviously, Megalobox just recently came out on Blu-ray. I'm sure you would tell everyone to go get that. But you were telling me about 7 Deadly Sins. It's a personal favorite of mine. Sadly, it hasn't been on Toonami, obviously, with it being on Netflix. No complaint from me, but I still love it. I love the manga. I've really enjoyed, and you got to tell me about the role that you are, because I didn't know.
I came in this last season. This was actually one that, because I knew so many people who were in it, that I did actually start watching from the beginning, and so I knew it before I was cast, and I voiced the Demon King. So once I got that role, I was kind of like, I know who that is, you know, like I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. So like, yeah, so I'm down there, you know, with that son of mine trying to.
Who's your favorite sin then, since you've seen it from the beginning?
Let's see.
I have like tied for 2 of 1 male and 1 female, so you can do that too if you'd like.
I think Bon might be my favorite.
Yeah.
I think so. Oh, Bon's amazing.
Love Merlin.
Yes.
Merlin is so cool. I think she is super cool. But I would definitely say, if you guys loved all different types of anime, especially shonen, I would definitely recommend checking out 7 Deadly Sins. And I'm sure Jason here would as well.
Yeah, so says the Demon King.
Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. This is your first Anime Expo, I hear.
Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying it, honestly.
I am. No, this is great. This is a great venue for it. Everybody here seems to be having an excellent time. This has been really, really fun.
Hopefully you guys get to experience that as well, so you can join Jason in the same way with that.
Yeah.
And again, thank you taking the time to talk about this. This was awesome. Being able to talk about Megalo, like, it's so exciting, because it's just like, it's one of those shows that, like, you expect, like, the Narutos, the Bleach, the, you know, One Piece, all that stuff, but Megalobox really, really took a hold, and I think that's what makes it really special.
I completely agree. It's a knockout, you might say.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks, guys.